So I recently asked for some hot takes from the community, focused on the changes that came in 1.6. And one opinion that I saw fairly often is that the new crops are pointless. This caused me to take a bit of a closer look at each of them to see if they truly have absolutely no use. So if you didn't know, these 4 crops were added, one for every season. The catch is, they can't be bought normally. They have to be found in these seed spots, which have a 16.6% chance to replace a regular artifact spot. I have my own grievances with that, but that's besides the point. You'll also unlock some trades for them later in the game after doing the raccoon quests. And they're all pretty simple items, so you should be able to trade just about as much as you want. Other than that, they work as normal crops for the most part. Plant them, water, harvest. Some even have multiple harvests, some have one, and you can put them in a seed maker if you want more seeds. But if they're just like other crops, why add them? What makes them special? Let's look and see. Starting with carrots. Carrots are the seed unique to spring, and at a first glance, you can already start to see how they stand out. They have pretty good gold per day at 11.67 gold. On its own, in terms of spring crops, this is only outclassed by strawberries if you plant them before the egg festival. They also stand out in only taking 3 days to grow, which is the shortest amount of time out of every single crop in the game. Only the parsnip and wheat come close at 4 days. Which got me thinking, is there any way we can abuse that? And oh boy, there is. There's 2 ways we can decrease how many days it'll take for a crop to grow. The agriculturalist profession, which is a 10% decrease, or with fertilizer, a 10, 25, or 33% decrease respectively. Thing is, the amount of days always rounds down, so using any of these methods on their own will decrease the amount of days for the carrot to grow down to 2. The gold per day in that case is now 7.5, but we can push that even further. Agriculturalist and at least deluxe speed grow used together gives us a 35% decrease, and since that's greater than 33%, we're going to go all the way down to a 1-day growth cycle. In this case, the gold per day is straight up the sale price of the crop at 35 gold. For reference, starfruit makes 26.92 gold a day. Using this same setup for the next best spring crop, rhubarb, only makes 27.5 gold a day. This makes carrots one of the best things to put in preserves jars. Just not kegs, since the time investment wouldn't really be worth it. On top of all that, they do have a unique effect when fed to your horse. It'll now move faster for the rest of the day. It's not too much of a bonus, but it's a little bit. One thing I didn't expect is that when you eat it yourself, you gain 75 energy. That's massive. If you need a scale of how good that is, there are 2 crops that beat it. Melons and starfruit, and needless to say, those won't grow nearly as fast as carrots. I'd say that this is the most useful and versatile crop of the group. Next up in summer, we have summer squash, and I just want to mention one nice detail about the seed spots is that they'll give you next season's seeds once you wouldn't have time to naturally grow the current one. So you'll start finding summer squash seeds around spring 26th. It gives you a little bit of time to build up seeds for the next season, and you'll want to because these are regrowable. The earlier you plant them, the better. When planted at the beginning of the season, they'll earn you about 18 gold a day throughout the summer, which is only beaten by blueberries and starfruit. Not to mention, it'll get a better boost from fertilizer than blueberries would because it only affects 1 of the 3 blueberries you get each harvest. So with fertilizer, it actually beats out blueberries for profit. It does have a fairly large 8 harvests in one season, which can be an upside or a downside. There's more frequent money, but you'll have to harvest it more often. It also grows its first harvest in just 6 days, which is only beaten by hot peppers and wheat. So all in all, summer squash is actually a really good crop you can plant for free. It's just contingent on you planting it early. It does produce the very last day of summer, so if you're late by a day or 2, you will be missing out on profit. Also, while it's not used in any cooking recipes or anything, since it's a vegetable, it does make for a really good gifting option. Remember, all NPCs like vegetables other than the kids, and the romanceables who act like kids. In fall, we have broccoli. Now at a glance, it's not as good for money as the previous crops were. It's beaten pretty handily by grapes, cranberries, pumpkins, and beets. It also doesn't grow particularly fast. It takes 8 days to grow initially and then 4 days for each harvest after. But similar to the summer squash, it's a free vegetable that works nicely as a liked gift. Also in fall, the crops don't tend to be great for energy when you eat them. especially considering how expensive the seeds tend to be. Broccoli gives 63 energy each, which is more than any of the other fall crops. And considering it regrows, it'll be a nice consistent source of energy, and you won't have to hunt it down as much as you did the carrots back in spring. Finally, in winter, we have powdermelons. I'll be honest, just by virtue of being a crop that you can grow in winter, it is unique. So I suppose the thing to compare it to in this case would be winter forage seeds, and they both grow in 7 days, so it's a pretty easy comparison. First and most obviously, winter melons give more farming experience. During your first winter, you may be inching closer to level 10, and these could be what pushes you to the top before you start your second year. Each powdermelon gives 12 experience, and each foraged seed gives 2, along with 3 foraging experience. But now what really matters: money. This is a hard comparison. So if we look at the raw numbers, powdermelons make 8.6 gold a day, and winter seeds make 13.6 gold a day. However, powdermelons can be used in dehydrators, preserves jars, and kegs, and on the other hand, only wild seeds use the gatherer and botanist professions, and of course can be turned into tea saplings. But they do need to be crafted into more seeds, which will cut into profits, where you can find the wintermelon seeds out in the wild. And I suppose I should mention that powdermelons can turn into a giant crop. Although that in itself is a trade-off, because although you get more than 9 crops, they'll all be normal quality, and you won't get any experience for harvesting them. It does give you a guaranteed secret note if you haven't collected them all though. Really though, in winter, you're probably just going to plant whatever you get. Winter seeds rely on finding each of the 4 forageables, and powdermelons rely on finding seed spots. So depending on the size of your farm, you might not even fill in all of your crop space by the end of the season. Anyway, they're literally the only regular crop you can plant, so they're useful. All in all, carrots are straight up one of the best crops in the game, and all the others are decent. Their best strength is that they're all free, and their biggest weakness is that you can only get a limited number of them. As long as you don't have something better filling up all your crop space, they're worth planting. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some new uses for all those seeds clogging your chest, and I'll see you in the next one. Good night.